Edith Banks with the Sunflower Nation Women in Leadership podcast. We are here today for our second episode in our Women's History Month series, celebrating female entrepreneurs. We have 9 amazing women who are sharing their journey with us. Today, we're talking specifically about the different challenges that they have faced, such as being denied opportunities specifically because they are women, some of their fears, mistakes that they've made along the journey, how they distinguish themselves in their businesses, and of course, the biggest one, how have they managed balancing all of the responsibilities of their lives and running a business? So I know there are definitely some jewels that you are going to walk away from today's session from. So sit back and enjoy the show because I am telling you, you're going to love it. Was there ever a moment when you felt like your business was affected specifically because you were a woman, any limitations that were put on you, or people who wouldn't do business with you because of your gender?
He had a great sense of humor, and he said to me, "Well, Pep, we don't kill anyone in this department." And it kind of took the ice off for me. And I said to myself, this is going to be okay. Like, if you can laugh along the way, and not turn everything into a personal comment, right? Find a way when someone presents you with a challenge to say to yourself, how can I see this differently? How can I rise above? Because there are a lot of people, men and women, who are going to stand in your way, and they may have their own selfish reasons for why you don't get moved forward or why you're not given certain opportunities that perhaps you felt you might have been entitled to, right? But really, none of us are entitled to anything. And if we want it, we have to prove that we're worth it. And if that door is shut to us for any reason, then it's time to pick up our toys and find another way. And that's not always easy, you know. So again, being creative and being open and trying to meet that challenge within oneself is something that we're not taught early on as women. And it took me a little while to go down that road to see that, because when people stand in your way sometimes and you don't know why, it does hurt. I'd be lying if I said it didn't. But and I think all women during their career have faced some sort of a challenge, whether it was a sexual comment, an educational comment, a race or ethnicity comment, a background comment. Where did you live growing up? How many children do you have? How do you not have children? I mean, I think we get questioned about everything in our careers. And I'm hoping for future generations that this world is doing away with a bit of that.
I think the beauty industry is one of those industries, in my opinion, that is mostly female dominated. So I can't say that I've had issues with, funding or advertising or anything of that matter, honestly.
I have not, and I think because of the feeling that sometimes it's the feeling of like, why? When that may be a potential. So that has been somewhat of a thing that I'm trying to work through, in the sense of like, I need to go for these things. I need to go for the funding. I need to put myself out there, in a sense. But I think, it's that negative self-talk that, within entrepreneurship, sometimes we don't always talk about, but in the sense of we talk ourselves out of doing things because, this space is primarily like the faces on the website that are talking about this grant are all all white, or look very different. And so I haven't personally experienced that because I think I'm still working through negative self-talk, and really trying to encourage myself. And I mentioned having a SCORE mentor. My SCORE mentor has definitely been great support.
No, I haven't faced any of those obstacles yet. Because I'm a female. Well, you know what? I think the small challenge that I'm dealing with now is because I've also dabbled into having men as my clients. And right now, I don't think I'm received as someone who can help them. I've created a platform for them. When I had the two male events, I've created a platform for them. I've created a safe space for them where they know, okay, B News checking us out. You know, she cares about us, because that's what I tell them all the time. I don't want to live in a world without men. I don't know about anybody else, but you know, we need the brothers around. And so, but we want them to be healthy. So I noticed my husband, my brother, my nephews, they're not talking. There are things happening with them, but they're not talking about it. But when I had the men's health fair and the men were in the room, girl, they was just like, bing, 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 bing. And I was just like, so they do talk. But it was about them having a safe place, and they had other male professionals to talk to. So I don't think I have captured them yet to say, you know what, if I'm looking for a health coach, I'm gonna go check out, you know, Coach C. And I don't think they're there yet, you know, but they know I'm in their corner, and I'm working for them. So that's about the only obstacle that I have witnessed so far.
I think it's still new at this point. So nobody has come up to me and said it to my face. Um, do I doubt that it's happened? I'm sure it has happened. I'm sure, for example, with the notary business, it makes more sense to have your face on the business cards or have it somewhere so that people know who's coming to them. Like if I go to do a signing, I don't want any shocks when I show up at your house. So here's what I look like. Whether that's deterred people, I don't know. Um, so it could be. I mean, I've definitely experienced it before this. I don't think that this is necessarily different. I would like to think that it's not happening, but I think a lot of it not happening also comes with face-to-face interactions, and when there's not that face-to-face interaction, I think there's more room for people to be like, maybe not, maybe not today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And being an Afro Latina makes it extremely difficult. Um, I've seen, and experienced opportunities that were right there in my hand, and at the end it was like, oh no, and then you'll see like males, just advance, and and you wonder why, like what's going on, but you can tell, you can read the room, you can feel it, and then sometimes it's pretty obvious. I deal with it really well because I taught myself a long time ago, what God wants for me, I'm going to have, and what he doesn't, he will block. And that's just how, you can't control man, you can't control. All I can do is just keep on and move on.
I do think it is some challenges. I'm a firm believer. What I experienced throughout, my journey with this is I have to pretty much show people. They can see me, and they see, that I like quality food and I talk about it all the time. But I've noticed that in order to get that client, they have to see you in it. So I give you a prime example, even about like working at work, I rarely order out. I bring my food Monday through Friday. So I don't really order Uber Eats and do anything. I mean, I bring my fresh, clean food every day. And you could just see some of the people's eyes that look at my food. They were like, oh my God, you look at your food. It looks so healthy, it looks so clean, looks so fresh, like looks so exciting. And people that want to engage in that, I usually talk to them about it. So I would have like 2 or 3 people that really, really admire what I do. And I usually talk to them about it. But most of the time I notice that people want to actually see it. They want to see it versus you talking about it. They want to see you walking the walk and saying, "Oh, okay." Because I know once one of my coworkers was saying, you always talk about clean cooking and eating and all of this stuff, but she said I never really thought. She said because everyone says they can cook, but I started bringing in, sharing my meals with her, and she was just wowed by it, and I encouraged her to get on the journey to eat because she had some elements. She was a little bit older woman, and she had really, really appreciated my feedback and assisting her and the importance of eating clean to get her numbers down.
I'll be honest, I feel like I have always kind of operated outside of that thought process. I think that yes, as women, we 100% experience that kind of like putting you in a box. I mean, I have experienced that, but I think one of the things I will say is that because of the industry I worked in, it was mostly women. So I think I had a different experience where I really never thought or really thought about the limitations. So coming out of that, like it's definitely there, and I have experienced it, but I don't have like, those people that really have those stories that have affected them.
What makes you stand out from your competitors?
So a lot of my competitors, my price point is at a higher price point, and my construction, the way I make the apparel, is at a much, much higher price point. So I'm up there with like the construction of a Louis Vuitton or a Couture house, but then selling at a maybe like between $100 to $300 price range. So you're not gonna find me at a Walmart. You're not, unless I do a bridge line. But for right now, this collection, you're gonna find it in a high-end boutique. And just because I'm offering the higher, craftsmanship at a lower price point. So I distinguish myself that way.
The funny thing is my background, because I work with clients, so I think I speak a different language than most photographers in that I can really look at where they want and what they're trying to communicate from not only a creative lens, but also through a business lens. And I think that people don't think of that sometimes, so I can give suggestions on, okay, you want to use these pictures for, hitting this client, or you want to do a different type of a focus here. And I think that one of the things that we've done is moved into branding photography, which is working with clients, working with a lot of mostly women entrepreneurs, actually, and helping them to tell their stories and to reach the exact clients they need to reach. And I think the one thing, as a planner, because that was my job, I was a planner. I can do that research. So I research their industry and I focus on who they really are looking for. And a lot of photographers, it's just the creative perspective. So I don't think they don't get that that service, which I don't charge extra for. That's just the way that I apply my way of like planning out their shoots. And then the other thing is I am great at location scouting. So, and a lot of times people have to hire someone else to do that, but I do that myself. So that's why I say we're full service. You come here and, I can do the whole thing.
Everybody's story is different. Everybody's background is unique. Like I said, I've grown up in a couple of places. I've lived in a few places. I love meeting different cultures. I love meeting different people. I love interacting with everybody of any background on anything. I think that helps, being able to speak to people and wanting to hear, which really is, I learned this a long time ago when I was a criminal defense attorney. Sometimes people just want to tell their story. And honestly, I can't say that I'm one of those people. I don't really like to tell my story. I need to learn how to do that. But I love to listen. And if you want to tell me this story, I am here for it. So I think there's that. I think being willing to listen sets me apart a bit. Then there's the age, the experience, some of the stuff I bring in the background. But I think that's what sets me apart a little bit.
I think it's my compassion, my energy, my story, because no one has the story that I have. You know, someone else can say that they have an autoimmune, but our stories are not the same. And so I think it's my passion, my desire, and my commitment that I will walk alongside of you, whether we walk fast, whether we walk slow. The key is that we just don't stop. If there's a situation and you're coming to me and you want my help, I'm willing to help you as long as you're willing to do your part. And I realize with many other people that may not be the case. They may decide, you know, you're not doing enough, or I don't want to do this anymore, you know. But that's not my story, because I realized I didn't have anybody to help me when I went through mine. You know, I was figuring it out, stumbling in the dark, which was not fun. So that's why I let people know I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. I can spend the time with you that your doctor can't.
I think that I stand out because even though may have said earlier it's a female dominated industry, it may not necessarily be a female of color dominated industry. So I think that being a woman of color is what helps me stand out, because I am relatable to, number one, women my age. I'll be 51 in 2 weeks. So women my age and women of color. And I think that, you know, we as women, because even myself as a client, when I'm going to have a service, I want to go to someone that I can relate to, someone that I can talk to, someone who's had the same kind of experiences that I've had, you know, even when it comes to skincare, because, you know, not all skin is the same, and Black and brown women have different needs. We have different, you know, the sun impacts or affects us in different ways that it does other women. So, you know, to have that person that knows those things, that can talk to you about those things, and can give you the advice, and you know it's coming from a place of, you know, of similarity, of familiarity. I think that's what helps me stand out from the competition.
In the market being saturated is that there is always a need. And I think what has helped is one of my coworkers, she also has her own college counseling business, but she started 12 years ago. And she said something that I think was powerful, where it was like, everyone can eat. So if a client doesn't work for me, I do not mind referring them to you. And we do the same thing. So to hear someone that's in the same market, that works with the same clients as me, have that thought is kind of like, everyone can win. There are a ton of people within Passaic County, Bergen County, that are looking for that level of support. And so for me, how do I stand out is, one, recognizing that yes, there's competition, but I'm not too much like consumed with it. Another thing that I think I try to set apart is that I really try to infuse. I've gone through this own personal journey where I was a workaholic, and you know, I got to perform, I got to check the boxes, I got to do all these things, and I realized that for me, things still felt a little empty, still felt unfulfilled. And I started realizing that the quality of life is more important. And so I try to share with my future clients, potential clients, what are your passions? What are the things that we can lean into that you're already doing that speak to how amazing you are? I don't believe in telling kids, oh, you got to do research. You know, if you're interested in research, then do it. Like, if you are on X or Twitter and there's a trend that's happening and you want to research the metrics around this trend of this hashtag, which I've had a student do, that helps you stand out, because that's a genuine interest of yours. You're not just doing it so I can look good for an Ivy League or for a highly selective institution and I think I'm amazing. You're doing it because you actually want to make an impact, and admission counselors can tell that. So for me, I try to communicate that to my families, that what are the things that you're interested in that you're already doing? How can we lean into that and really help you brand your college admissions or your graduate school admissions, application? Try to differentiate myself in that way. And, again, if I do have some families, some organizations that are very much like, we want our kids to, get into this type of school, and that is understandable. But I do appreciate the perspective and the mindset that, okay, everyone can eat. I've got someone that maybe be able to help you, and that's okay. I think it's really important, particularly for women of color, for Black women, that we uplift each other in that way. I think it's very cool to put it on Instagram and social media. It's another thing to really live it and embody it, and to also rebuke yourself when you're not living that principle that it's so easy to post about. And so, yeah.
I'm not led by myself. I go to God first for consultation, for consult. Um, I feel like I operate differently because of that. And then I'm always thinking, okay, I got to think of my family, our needs. I will never put the motivation or the excitement of being in business or starting a business or even operating in a business over the needs of my family. So that's another reason why it's taking me longer, because I have to, focus and prioritize us. So between my faith and me just doing what's necessary for my family, I've I've coasted, but I've coasted fine, and I'm not in a space where I'm struggling and crashing and burning.
Oh, I compare myself as no one is glossy and no one is glossy meals. I can give my recipe. I was talking to my partner about this a couple of days ago, actually, and I was like, you know, I can give out my recipe to 20 different people and it still won't taste like mine. So I definitely have that confidence. I think that God gave me these hands, and I have that special touch when it comes to clean cooking. And it doesn't. My food is very flavorful, and it doesn't look bland, and it doesn't have a lot of salt and processed oils. And I think I just have a natural eye for it. And a lot of times I don't even have a recipe. I cook with love. I cook with creating. I think that's why I'm not a baker, because I may not want to measure a half a cup today. So I like to be able to create as I go. And I also love to listen to music and just get into this zone and just pour the love into my cooking.
What do you do when you have an unhappy client or customer?
Not so much happy with it, but they did tell me how they wanted to. I know I had a vegan client that they were vegan. Sometimes they like cook food and sometimes they like raw food. And I think it was the time when cauliflower became really big. I don't know if you noticed, that time everything was like cauliflower pizza, cauliflower rice, and and I had made her a dish, and she was just saying like, I'm like so over the cauliflower. So I did. That's the only thing I can really stick in my head, where they said that they didn't want any more cauliflower as a vegan because they were over it. And then maybe one time I made a soup for a client, and she failed to give me that she couldn't have spices, and it was just a little bit too spicy. So those are the only two things that really I can think of. That I gave them a complimentary meal on me, and I factored that in.
Can you tell us about one mistake that you've made as an entrepreneur?
I laugh because there have been so many that actually last May, I can't explain it. It's just one of those moments where Holy Spirit speaks to me, and he reminded me of 105 mistakes I've made in business, and I penned a book on it. And now it's in the editing phase, and it's extremely beneficial um, to women because we are more likely to make mistakes because we didn't have those discussions around the dinner. We didn't have uncles and fathers traditionally that we can benefit from their advice, or even aunts and mothers who had businesses that they would share their wisdom. And I'm excited. It's literally called 105 Mistakes I've Made in Business, so you don't have to.
Well, I mean, I think I probably mentioned it. I think I probably would have done a little bit more planning before I stepped out on my own. I think that I can't stress enough how important it is to map out what your goals are and how you're going to meet them. I think the this past year I've really been focusing on marketing, and I mean I can speak to this. I mean as a you know I would say 90s baby, 80s baby. That marketing and a lot of finance is just different now. We learned something in a way to focus on things that's completely different in this digital landscape. Had I done a little bit more planning, I would have said, oh, you know what? I need to learn about social media marketing. It's definitely, has even evolved in the last year, 2, 3, every year it's definitely evolving. But I probably would have been a little bit more, I would have done more in-depth planning with my business plan than I did, because then it would have served a little bit better for me to have a kind of like a roadmap, and it changes 100%. And then the other thing I will say, which I'm learning now also, is there are resources like Score and like there's so many resources out there for business owners. So if you don't know how to do business plans, if you don't know how to do some of these things, you can find it. And I definitely didn't I didn't research that as much as I definitely, should have. So yeah, that's what I would say.
This will be great. So, like I said, I've been a long time wanting to be an entrepreneur and not really not really going for it. I before I decided that I was going to do swimwear, because some swimwear happened to be an accident, but it happens to be my love. I wanted to do evening wear or bridal wear before. And I bought all my tags, and then decided to trademark and found out that my name was already taken. Not the same spelling, but already taken for apparel, and it would have been a conflict. So I said, oh God, I got to start this over. So there's a really quick story behind the name. It's actually a tribute to all the hardworking women and all the women that supported me growing up. When I'm saying all, I mean my friends, my teachers, my mom. My mom's a single mom. My dad passed away when I was young. So all the name, the strength of the name, the LE, it's French for the, and I chose LE instead of LA because I felt that every woman has to have a masculine side in order to be successful in business. So it's that the beginning of the name, and then my name Lindsay with the twist, so for advertisement purposes, and that's how Lindsay came about. So thank God that I messed up the first time, right?
I wish I would have took a nutrition course much sooner. Once I realized I wanted to get into this style, because I think when people see that you have that background, that kind of boosts you up a little bit as well, especially when you're trying to find investors. I think that'll be like a little bit of a notch up, so you don't really know that you know what you're talking about. I mean, although it doesn't really matter of a piece of paper, but I just really think that it would have helped me, and just did more research of on investors.
Mistake. Now are we down to one? First, I don't really, and I mean this honestly, I don't really believe in mistakes. Sure, there are some things that maybe I would have done differently. I don't think of them as mistakes. I think everything leads to where you're supposed to be in that moment. Perhaps one thing that I would do differently, I think I may have pulled the trigger on doing this, being an entrepreneur, sooner. I would have done that sooner. I think I was so focused on work. And again, you get stuck in sort of this role or this rut of just doing because this is what you've been doing, this is what you know. And the fear of what you don't know will keep you in that path, in that position for so much longer than perhaps you want to be or need to be. And I think not trusting in myself and my ability or that the universe would catch me and it will be okay. Just step out on faith and see what happens. I think staying longer than I needed to stay, I'd do that differently.
I would say doubting myself would be a very big mistake. Uh, I know not everyone is religious, but in the words of a gospel songwriter, sometimes you got to encourage yourself. And I sincerely believe that, again, what I had spoken about in terms of the negative self-talk, it can really talk you out of opportunities. And so I often think of Marianne Williamson's poem, that talks about you shining your light and, you daring to put yourself out there, for lack of a better words. And so I would say that's the biggest mistake of not doing it sooner. Almost talking myself out of it, right? Because the feeling is that so and so is doing it, and this person and that person, it's saturated. Like, who's going to listen to me? That doubt can really do some things to you, and so I would say that is definitely a mistake that is a mistake, and that I'm actively working past and walking confidently and going for things.
So with everything that you have going on, how have you managed balancing motherhood, being a sister, being a wife, being a partner to somebody, and starting a new business?
Was the best thing because I don't believe that I could have done it when they were little. I don't believe that I could have done it when they were little. One, I wouldn't have had the focus, nor the energy, or the time, or the time. So the fact that I was really able to launch this thing as they were both leaving out of college, was a great thing. I had one that graduated in 2020 and the other one graduated in 2021. Yeah. Married, and this September will be 30 years. And he's been very supportive. Even when I decided to do this men's thing, it was just a what if, what if? And he was like, what? I was like, you're going to be there, but what if?
Unfortunately, my family all moved away many years ago and sort of was like a sunflower in itself. All the beautiful leaves got scattered everywhere. So I haven't had the benefit of a local family to lean on, to be a part of, to have holiday celebrations with. I do have a partner, and he has been supportive of my choices and stayed home with animals, like for example when I couldn't be there because of my work schedule, and that did allow me the freedom to flourish, and that support of knowing that I didn't have to make a choice, that that I could just focus on my work, which is really important to me. I have a gestalt need to finish things. It's a real strong work ethic, and perhaps sometimes interfere with my work-life balance because I was so dedicated to meeting the needs of whoever I was doing a project or employment for. And I would push myself. I didn't really know always how to say no. And there was a great cost for that later on in my life. I thought that if you just work hard, it'll pay off. And I'm not saying that that's not true, but I've taken a pause since the pandemic and looked at my life in a lot of different ways. And our family could be anyone we want it to be, right? Our family can be sisters, right, that we've chosen into our circle and who've loved us, and I'm very grateful, especially for my long-term friendships, for the people who I've known for more than 2 decades who still love me, and they have seen, you know, all my warts, and they still find a way to, you know, find room in their heart for me, and to the new friends that I've made along the way. And so you can have family and they might not be beside you, but and they'll always be biological family, but I think that our family can be whoever we want it to be. And we just need to be grateful for those that show up and for however long they show up.
To have a game plan. You got to have some organization skills, and I factor it into my schedule. I mean, it's important to me. It's like I need to get my 7 to 8 hours of sleep. You know, you need to shower, you need to bathe, and even as so far as working out. Like I even had to put my workout regimen into my schedule. Like I work my 9 to 5. I put in travel time. Like I factor all of that in because it's important to me. I really, really try to make up excuses for any of those things because at the end of the day, if I don't do something for me to keep my health up, how I'm gonna, I'm not gonna be able to be that entrepreneur or a great business owner. So I usually try to factor everything into my schedule, and it's very important to me. So all the things that's important to me, I put them on my schedule and I try to check them off as I go. Is every day perfect? Absolutely not. But in order for me to be that better person, it has to start with me first.
I'm trying, let's put it that way. I'm trying to balance all the demands. It helps to have a good support system. Not, excuse me, not, it helps to have the savings, I guess. So that takes care of a little bit, but it definitely helps to have my mother, my family, my husband who are supportive of whatever it is they think I'm doing with my life. Um, and there are people who question, like, what are you really doing? Why are you doing this? Why don't you go back to? But that helps, the support system. Um, it helps in the balance. It helps in those moments when you're just working so hard at one thing and you're not really focusing on anything else. Um, how do I balance it? I work in the day. We really try to focus on our son in the evening until he goes to bed. And then I'll be honest, I go back to work. I don't know that that's the best approach, but it's what I've chosen to do right now. And it works. It works. I'm not unhappy about it. Definitely. I think in a good way. Because again, I'm home more, I'm more present. And like I said, when I'm not working, which I've now shaped my work around my family, as opposed to the other way, which I was shaping my family around my work. So I'm actually mentally and physically more present with my family. And it's been good. It's been good. And I think now that I've had a taste of this, it will be really hard if I ever have to, knock on wood, it never happens, but really hard to go back, if, to an office, to a job, to any kind of commute, to any kind of not being here if I want to be here.
I'm married 5 years to the love of my life, Jared Turner. And we have 2 little girls. We have Noelle, who is about to be 4 in April, and Zoe, who is 1 year old. And so it is quite a busy house. Well, life has ebbs and flows, and there are some weeks that I am motivated and I'm emailing organizations, trying to do workshops, trying to get contracted to do different experiences. Sometimes I make headway, sometimes I don't. And then there are other weeks where life be life and someone is sick, or maybe I'm not doing well, maybe I am sick, or maybe I'm just having a low week. I think we're all entitled to that at times. And sometimes it's like, oh, I don't want to check, any emails other than, if it's a doctor's appointment. And so it can be a lot, but I think there's building some grace around that, as well as, it depends on where you are with your clients, right? So right now, I do have one client that I am working with, but it's more in terms of a workshop basis. So I know that I have one more workshop lined up with this client. Outside of that, right now, I'm open to taking more clients. But in understanding who your clients are, what is your caseload? I think it's very important in terms of communication with your clients. Yes, being dependable. Yes, making sure that you're reliable. But if there is an instance where you may need a break, I think that transparency and that communication of reaching out to your clients, hey, I know we have some things lined up, I'm wondering if you're open or you're flexible in terms of us rescheduling or reworking some of the dates that we have. And I think that's important because within entrepreneurship, within business, your mental health is important, your quality of life is important. And if you don't have that, you're not going to be any good to anyone, and your business will suffer. Does that mean that you go ghost? Does that mean that you don't answer emails? No. But I think it's very important, if I'm telling my clients to pace themselves, if I'm telling them to be organized, I also have to model it as well. And be flexible, and I also try to communicate that to my clients that I am flexible with you, and I ask that, you be flexible with me too. Now, does that mean we just throw whatever schedule and calendar out the window? No. Um, but I think that helps. So there have been a couple of weeks, I've experienced some losses within my family within the past, and have had to take a little time for myself in terms of regrouping, right? And yes, you don't want to share too much of your business, but I do think there is power in just sharing, hey, I'm going through a tough time, I'm experiencing some family emergencies, or experienced the loss, and wondering if we can reschedule some things or rework some things. And I do appreciate when clients, most of my clients, if not all of them, are very much understanding.
I do have tantrums. I have had them, but overall, I focus on spirituality. I always think that God wants what's best for me, and His way is the right way. I also have a service dog that gives me unconditional love, and I do a lot of book reading, meditating, journaling, uh, long walks with my dog, connect back to nature. I try to be kind to others, So those kind of things like pretty much root me. They keep me grounded so that I'm not losing my mind. um, it's people don't understand the time. A lot like if someone needs my time, they need it when they need it, but I need to finish what I need to do, and they don't understand, like, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing just to go to a party or go have some fun. Like, I have to get my work done first, and then I can go ahead and attend whatever it is that you need me to attend. Um, I also get a lot of like, "Could you come to bed, please?" I'm up to 3 o'clock in the morning working on factory stuff. Like, "Can you please come to bed?" Um, so yeah, I'm a workaholic. So that kind of affects me. But again, you have to get balance. So I try to not do it every day.
Um, it's not easy at all, and even now he's 8 years old, he's gonna be 9, and I still, you know, um, it's still a struggle. Like, I have a client this Saturday and I had to find childcare for the hour, or for the hour and a half, for while I'm with the client. So, there's always going to be that struggle, but I think that when you love what you do, you find a way to make it work. And I think, like, with my son, I like for him to see me doing things outside of my 9 to 5. And I hope that that will influence him, as he gets older, to start his own business and to, to thrive in that space as well. So, it's definitely a challenge, but I have support. His father does help. My family helps, and friends. I have a great support system, so I wouldn't be able to do it without them.
I sit down and I take as much instruction as I can from Holy Spirit, because if I go on my own and say, oh, I'm going to do this during this time, and oh, I'm going to do that during that time, I'm going to find myself in a heap full of trouble, because the best way for me to get my instruction is through him. So now I have like this routine. I'm up at 6, I'm schooling my son in the morning. I have about 4 hours in between to do things I need to do. My husband is a full hands-on husband and father, so he's very helpful. And I can do things before work, I can do work things after. I schedule clients when I'm needed, which is every weekend and every other weekend. I'm sorry, every other week. And sometimes if I don't have a lot of work, I'm working while at work. So, you just have to do what you have to do. You take these times, you keep a tight schedule, and as long as you are disciplined, you can carry it out. It seems like a lot, but I've had 2 years to go through things and experience it. I'm also learning and just being refined as an entrepreneur the longer I am working, whether it's working with my husband in the cleaning business or working behind the scenes, do what I have to do. Like, I taught myself so many things that I don't even need to pay for. So I'm really grateful to have that time. I feel mommy guilt only because my evening job is me working with children, and our youngest is 12, and he doesn't go with me anywhere he used to, but he doesn't like being there too much because it can be rambunctious. And I feel guilty because, I feel like I'm spending X amount of hours with these children in the evening, even though I'm with him in the mornings and we're homeschooling. It's instruction based. So it's like we're not in our natural um habitat, so to speak. We're not naturally, playing and laughing and joking. And sometimes I have to be a little firm with him if I feel like he's slacking off, and we're not getting the best of each other. So even today, I told my husband, let's go, let's get out, leave work a little early because he works earlier than I do. So we can go to the park before I go to work. And then like at nights when I come home, I'm still trying to sneak in so much and I'm just so tired. But like we've actually made a routine now where we're starting to play video games with one another. So I'm really getting in his world rather than expecting him to just take any bit of me he can receive. And loves it. He loves it. So, I'm happy that he's happy.
I hope you enjoyed today's show as much as I did. I learned so much from these women. There's so much to learn just from listening to other people's journeys. I hope you'll join us next week for the final episode in our Female Entrepreneur series, where the women will be sharing specifically about lessons learned, about their mentors, different support systems, advice for up-and-coming entrepreneurs, and of course, their vision for their businesses in the future. So don't miss next week at 8 p.m., our final episode in the Female Entrepreneur series. May your hearts be filled with the brightest of sunflowers, even on the cloudiest of days. This is Dr. Edith Banks with the Sunflower Nation, wishing you love and positive vibes. Until next time.